Welcome back to the San Juan Islands Western Bluebird Project volunteer video training series. My name is Kathleen Lewis, Stewardship Manager for the San Juan Preservation Trust. This is the third video in our series where we will talk about how to monitor your nest box and the importance of capturing resite data for all of our adult bluebirds on the island. So as you can tell, we're filming this in the fall. However, everything I'll be explaining in this video really needs to be happening in the spring and summer. So most bluebirds start arriving in late February or early March. In April, they're often still flying around searching for perfect cavity to nest in. By April or early May, you'll likely know if you have western bluebirds occupying a nest box at your home or on your territory. Once you've found bluebirds, one of the first steps is to get the birds ID'd using their colored leg bands as a guide, and then notifying myself and the landowner of the property that bluebirds have occupied the nest box there. First, let's review the equipment to have in the field with you. A good pair of binoculars. Standard field optics are 10 by 42. However, everyone's eyesight is different, so choose what works best for you. A multi-tool. Many of our nest boxes have different closing mechanisms. Some are nails that may be difficult to pull, some are closed with screws. All nest box doors should pivot from the side or occasionally the front for easy monitoring and cleaning. A lightweight step ladder. Some nest boxes are 8 feet high. A small step ladder will be essential to get a view into the interior of the box. A bicycle or hand mirror for checking. iPhones with the camera flipped can work as well. A thin pair of gloves. This keeps our human scent off the box exterior, which could attract predators. Before racing in to check a nest box to determine the breeding status, it's best to sit back and watch for a bit. Unobtrusive viewing from afar can tell you a lot about what the bluebirds may be doing. Here are some behavioral clues to watch for. Pair bonding. This happens prior to nest building. You may see the adult male passing food to the female. Pairs may also be peeking into the nest box. If you're really lucky, you may even see copulation. It happens quickly though. Nest building. Adults will be bringing nest material to the box. This will primarily be the female. Copulation happens during this stage as well. Egg laying. The clue to this is you'll see the female entering the box without nest materials, and she will stay inside the box for prolonged periods. Adult male will be seen delivering food to the female inside the box. Incubation. This looks a lot like the egg-laying stage, with the female staying inside the box for prolonged periods. And lastly, feeding young. You'll know this is happening because you'll see the adults making regular trips back and forth to the nest box with insects. You may also see adults removing fecal sacs from inside the nest box, and occasionally you can even hear cheeping of the young from inside the nest box. It won't be necessary to peep inside the box unless any of the clues I've just mentioned to you aren't immediately obvious, or it's time to get an idea of the next stage of development or an egg count. There are just a few key times that a nest box should be opened and checked. The first one is when we need to determine what stage the nest is in. And if it's in an early stage, it's going to have just a few grasses in the bottom of the box. Or if it's a late stage, you'll see a grass nest that's several inches thick with a finely woven nest cup on top. The next stage is determining a final egg count. Once you're certain that the female has been laying eggs, it's a good time to check and see how many completes the clutch. So a typical clutch size for bluebirds are between 5 and 7 eggs. They will lay one a day, beginning just a day or so after the nest is complete. Keep a calendar to track when that final egg is laid. If the egg count 7 days after the start of egg laying is 5, that means the female has likely stopped laying and started incubating on day 6. It's important to track this closely so we can prepare for the next check, which is hatching. Track the date for hatching, which would be 14 days after incubation begins, to schedule another time to check the nest box. That's when we'll get a head count to see how many of the eggs hatch successfully. And then finally, we'll do a pre-banding check. If banding is to occur, you will be notified of this. We will likely band the young at 11 to 12 days of age. Keeping track of this date, you'll want to check the day before to make sure the young are developing properly and a suitable size for banding. We can help you make this determination. After banding occurs, there'll be no need to check the box further until after the young have fledged, and it's time to remove the nest. Nest material should be removed shortly after fledging. This may help stimulate the adults into re-nesting. When doing your nest box checks, be sure to vary your routes of travel to and from the box each time to avoid creating predator highways. They may lead predators right to the box. So it's important to make sure that the female is out of the nest box before checking. It's always best to conduct your checks in the afternoon when she's less likely to be egg laying or incubating. Save your checks for mild, dry days, and if bad weather gets in the way, delay your check until the weather clears. It isn't worth the risk to the nestlings or eggs to be exposed to cold and rain. Stay quiet, move quickly, and be efficient in opening the box, making the checks, or taking a photo. Keep a hand up to the side of the box to prevent any nestlings from tumbling out, and be careful when closing to ensure no legs are getting pinched in the door. Do not touch the eggs or nestlings to determine their status, or tip nest material towards you. Record your findings in a field notebook. Once you're back at your computer, update your findings in a timely fashion on the shared spreadsheet, ideally within a day or two, as this is the best way for project coordinators to keep tabs on what is happening in the field. We also look for resites. Resites mean 100% confirmation of the adult's leg bands. We try to get 3 confirmed sightings between April 15th and June 15th of all adults, whether they're breeding or not, to track survivability. Sometimes bluebirds will switch partners mid-season, especially if one of the breeding adults is killed, so don't assume that the birds you see at the beginning of the season are the same ones at the end of the season. A separate spreadsheet, the resite sheet, is where you enter this information. In our next video, we'll take a quick look at the other types of cavity nesting birds that you may encounter when checking nest boxes. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.